I don't remember the exact moment the building changed, only that it happened in silence. 1 second, there were doors. The next, there weren't. It started when the fire alarm went off. A shrill metallic scream that cut through the quiet of the university halls. Everyone in the study lounge jumped up, confused but calm. Just another drill, we thought. But then someone tried to open the exit, and it wasn't there. Where the door should have been, just smooth white wall. No handle, no frame, no sign that anything had ever existed there at all. The girl who noticed it first started laughing. This nervous, high-pitched laugh like she thought it was a prank. But when she ran to the other end of the corridor, that door was gone too. Soon everyone was checking, panicking, calling friends. Phones were dead, no bars. The Wi-Fi name was still there, Campus Connect 5G, but nothing loaded, no pages open, not even Google. I remember pressing my ear to the wall where the main doors had been. It was warm, almost pulsing. Then the lights flickered once, twice. And for a split second, all I saw was darkness stretching beyond the walls. Like the building wasn't in the city anymore. Like it was floating in something else. Someone screamed from the 3rd floor. Everyone looked up at once. I ran for the stairs, pushing through the crowd of students frozen in confusion. My heart was pounding so hard I could barely breathe. When I got there was a boy standing in the middle of the hall, staring at the window frames. He turned around slowly, his voice shaking. "They're gone," he whispered. "Every one of them." He pointed to the far wall, where sunlight should have been pouring through the tall glass panels. Now it was just another blank surface. Perfect, smooth, seamless. The light we thought we'd seen was only the reflection of the hallway lamps. That's when it hit us. We were sealed in. Someone tried breaking a wall with a chair. Another used a fire extinguisher. The sound echoed through the halls, sharp and hopeless. Nothing broke. Nothing even cracked. It was like the building had stopped being made of stone and turned into something else. Something that didn't want to let us go. As the panic spread, I saw one student crouch in the corner, mumbling to herself. She kept repeating, "They told us not to stay past noon. They told us not to stay past noon." But no one knew who they were. Then the lights flickered again. And for half a heartbeat, the hallway wasn't empty. Shapes. Standing at the far end. Too still to be people, too tall to be shadows. When the light came back, they were gone. Rachel, one of the girls from my class, grabbed my arm, whispering, "Did you see them too?" I wanted to say no, but my throat wouldn't work. We stood there, frozen, listening. No footsteps, no sound. Only the faint electric hum of lights that shouldn't have been working anymore. That's when the intercom crackled. A single voice came through, distorted, trembling. Not a professor, not security, not anyone we recognized. It said only one thing. "Do not try to leave." Then static. Silence again. Everyone looked at one another, their faces pale and waiting for someone. Anyone to laugh and say it was a joke. But no one did. Because deep down, we all felt it. Something was alive inside these walls. And it didn't want witnesses. Camera slowly zooms on the main hallway, lights flickering to black. We tried to stay calm. Tried to believe it was all some kind of elaborate malfunction. A fire drill gone wrong, a lockdown test, anything. But by then, deep down, we already knew this wasn't human error. Rachel and I joined a small group of students who decided to check the upper floors. The main hall below was filling with people and whispering. Pacing, some crying quietly into their phones that no longer worked. It felt like being trapped inside a living organism. Each hallway a vein pulsing with nervous energy. When we reached the 2nd floor, we saw something that stopped us cold. The bridge. It connected the humanities building to earth sciences. I'd walked across it dozens of times. Now it was there, and not there. A faint shimmer of glass hung in mid-air, but beyond it, nothing. Just a darkness so thick it felt solid. One of the guys ahead of us tossed a coin into it. It vanished mid-air. No sound, no bounce. Just gone. Everyone froze. Then someone whispered, "It's like the world ends right there." Rachel stepped forward, her eyes fixed on the void. She said softly, "Maybe it's a projection. Maybe it's just black glass." She picked up a crumpled paper cup from the floor and tossed it in. It never hit the ground. That's when one of the students, a tall guy with a buzz cut and a tattoo of a saw across his forearm, said he'd go in. His name was Arnold. We told him not to. He laughed, but his voice shook. Then he took one step, and the light around him seemed to bend. Another step, and his outline blurred. We called out to him, but his voice came back warped, like it was echoing through water. "It's fine, I can see." Then silence. 5 seconds later, he came running back out, gasping like he'd been drowning. He fell to the ground, shaking his head over and over. We surrounded him, asking what happened, but all he said was, "They're in there, standing in the dark." He looked up at us, his eyes wide and glassy. "I touched one," he whispered. It was cold, breathing, whispering. Someone laughed nervously, telling him he was just seeing things. But Arnold stood up, trembling, and yelled, "You think I'm lying? Go in there yourself." Then he grabbed a chair from a nearby classroom and stormed downstairs. We followed him, not because we wanted to, but because the sound of him smashing something echoed through the halls. Down in the main foyer, we found him slept. The chair into the wall where the entrance used to be. Each hit echoed like thunder. The drywall cracked, flakes of white dust falling like snow. Others joined in, not to help, but because panic had turned to madness. Dozens of students started hammering the walls with anything they could find. Desks, trash bins, pieces of broken furniture. The air filled with dust and the sound of desperation. And somehow, the wall gave way. Not to the outside, but to another wall behind it, and another, and another. We measured it later. They had broken through more than 10 feet of solid material. No wires, no pipes, no metal, just endless smooth white plaster. A civil engineering student said it wasn't possible. That a wall like this couldn't exist without collapsing. That it was as if the building had rewritten itself. I remember sitting by the coffee shop on the first floor, watching the others lose themselves to exhaustion. The cafe lights were still on. Half-filled coffee pots. Fresh pastries behind the glass. But not a single staff member in sight. Rachel joined me, her voice hoarse. "It's like we were the only ones who ever existed here," she said. And she was right. Out of hundreds of people, usually in the building, only those from our exam hall remained. Everyone else was gone. Then my phone buzzed. A message from James, a friend from another class. "Dude, cops everywhere. They sealed off the building. Big white tents, SWAT or something. Won't let anyone near." I typed back fast. "Can you see us? Can you hear anything?" No response. Rachel leaned in, reading over my shoulder, whispering, "If they're outside, and we're inside, then what are they keeping out? Or in?" Before I could answer, the lights flickered again, every bulb dimmed to a faint red glow. Then the intercom crackled once more. The same distorted voice as before, but softer. "Stay calm. Oh, not open the walls." We looked at each other, frozen. Because the voice wasn't coming from the speakers anymore. It was coming from inside the wall itself. Camera panned slowly across the dusty foyer. Students staring, breathless, the red glow trembling across the endless white wall. By the time the lights dimmed to red, something inside the building had changed. The air felt heavier, thicker, as if we were breathing through wet cloth. The walls, once solid, now gave off a faint vibration, almost like a heartbeat. Arnold was still near the hole he'd made, his hands bloodied and trembling. Rachel and I tried to pull him back, but he wouldn't move. He kept pressing his ear against the drywall, whispering, "They're talking again." We all went quiet. For a few seconds, there was nothing. Then, faintly, like a whisper through the walls, we heard voices, murmuring, layered, echoing from deep inside the structure. Not words at first, just a rhythm, like people chanting in their sleep. Then one voice became clear, low and slow. "You shouldn't have stayed." Rachel gasped and stepped back. The wall pulsed once, like it had heard her. I turned to the others, but half the students were gone. Vanished. We hadn't heard footsteps or doors, just gone. Their bags, notebooks and jackets were still there, scattered across the floor. Panic hit again. Someone screamed that we had to break another way out. Maybe through the ceiling, maybe the basement. The group split. Half went up the stairs, half stayed behind. Rachel and I followed Arnold down a dark corridor leading to the engineering wing. It was colder there, and the air smelled faintly of metal and ozone. The emergency lights flickered weakly, showing only flashes of empty hallways. That's when we saw it. A door. The only one left. It was unmarked, matte black, and perfectly still. Rachel reached for the handle. "Don't," I said. But she looked at me, her eyes hollow and calm. "We have to see." She turned it. The door opened without sound. Inside was a lecture hall. Olds, but the desks were gone. Instead, the floor was covered in a massive diagram, carved into the concrete itself. It was the same pattern that had been printed on our exam papers that morning. The same machine-like spiral none of us could identify. Only now it was pulsing faintly with light, lines glowing beneath the dust. At the center stood one object, a chair, the kind used in exam halls, and on it a single sheet of paper. Rachel walked closer and picked it up. Her lips parted as she read the words written across the top. Final test, observation. Her hands began to shake. "It's our handwriting," she whispered. "All of it. It's ours." I looked closer. Every student's name was there, signatures scrawled along the edges, as if we had all taken part in something we didn't remember. Then from the walls, the voice returned. Calmer now, almost human. "The building learns. The building keeps." The floor trembled. The glowing lines brightened, flooding the hall with pale white light. I stumbled back, shielding my eyes, hearing Rachel shout my name, then silence. When I opened them again, I was alone. The chair was empty. The paper was gone. The walls were smooth again. No door, no diagrams, just a perfect, endless white room. I ran back toward the foyer, shouting for help. No one answered, no footsteps, no voices, just the faint hum of the lights overhead. When I reached the main hall, every sign of life was gone. The chairs, the coffee shop, the broken furniture. All of it erased. Even the hole in the wall had closed. My phone buzzed once, a message from James. "They're saying the building's been empty for years. What are you talking about?" I stared at the screen, my hands shaking. The Wi-Fi name flickering at the top. Campus Connect 5G. Then it disappeared. And in the reflection of the black screen, I saw something standing behind me. Tall, steel, L watching. The lights hum louder, flicker once, then go out completely. If anyone finds this recording, don't come here. Don't try to open what's already sealed, because the university didn't trap us inside. It was waiting for us to arrive, fade to black. The hum fades into silence.